Welcome to Next Level Greatness, the podcast. Around here, we'll be talking about all things expansion, going from good to great and from great to greatness. I'm your host, Barbie Collab. Get ready for your next level. Let's do this. Welcome to Next Level Greatness, the podcast. We have, and by we, my podcast team and I came up with a super fun contest for you. How would you like the opportunity to have a hot seat coaching call with me where we get to discuss and look into and have some breakthroughs regarding your money stories or your desire to manifest something in your life? Here's how we're going to do it. Step one, you would listen to my podcast, which you're doing right now. Step two, you would write a review. Step three, you would take a screenshot of your review before you actually submit it. And then you would post it in your Instagram stories or your Facebook stories and make sure to tag me so that I see it. And you'll tell your friends why they need to listen to Next Level Greatness. Nobody needs to do anything, but you know what I mean. Why they need this in their lives is the expression that we normally use. So don't delay. You could do it right after you listen to this podcast. You know how things are where you put things off till later and then it doesn't get done. So that is your assignment. And then on November 23rd, I'm going to choose one or two lucky winners. And we are going to do this. And don't you worry for a second. I will guide you every step of the way. So let's jump right in. Today's topic is 3 manifesting basics that most experts won't tell you. And by experts, I think I mean experts in the mainstream media. And by media, I mean social media. So when you go on any social media platform, people are usually dispensing advice and talking about, just make it happen. You have to have a goal. And I'm here to tell you a different story. And I'm here to say, I don't agree with some of the stuff that I see in mainstream media. Now, this is not to knock anyone. That's never my intention, because I used to believe these things and I've changed my mind. I've refined my process and the news is good. It's actually in our favor. The first thing that most people will tell you is that you have to be specific when manifesting. You have to have a goal. And that's how I grew up. And by grew up, meaning up until just a few years ago, I really thought that your manifesting goal had to be really specific. And in fact, if you go to the very early episodes of my podcast 1, 2, 3, I even talk about declaring your specific manifestation. And you know what? For some things, I believe that that's true. Like some people are specific manifestors. If they imagine a house that they would like to live in, they can see exactly how the kitchen's going to look and where the patio is going to face. I mean, I would say that my husband is one of those specific manifestors, but there are people like myself who don't necessarily need to see specific images. They don't need to have a specific goal. Now, when I imagine a dream home, for example, I just imagine lots of green land and I imagine this giant blue sky and the feeling of pure joy as the dogs, because it's all about the dogs, right? It's all about the fur babies. They have unlimited space to run. That's pretty unspecific. But as I've been teaching my Money Magnet course, I realized that it's more about the energy of being able to manifest money, to allow money to come into your life, that
matters. I don't think in terms of, okay, by December 2023, I am going to make X amount of dollars, because that seems very rigid. And that's the way that I've always done things. I've always been extremely goal oriented. I've always been very specific. And what happens when things don't happen on your timeline? A lot of times you get disappointed, or you just wind up moving the date over and over. I remember I had a goal in my Beachbody business for years, but I had the goal and it was like, I am going to be this rank by this date. And then when it didn't happen, it kind of felt like a disappointment. And eventually I was able to hit it. But I really believe that if there's something in your heart and you have a desire for something to manifest into your life, and manifesting simply means that it's going to make itself evident, that you can be a little bit freer with your timelines. So I've already introduced the second thing that people will tell you about manifesting, and that is that you have to have a goal. Not only do you have to have a goal, but you have to have a goal date. And again, I've changed my mind, because if you believe in God, or if you believe in source is the moon, the stars, and there's this energy that governs everything. And again, for the people who are believers of God, well, God created that. And so you don't get to dictate, you don't get to determine the timeline of when things happen. And so when you have a timeline, when you're like, you know what, this needs to happen by this date, as I said, you're going to be disappointed. And I don't want to be disappointed. I also don't want to stress out my nervous system. For example, I know that I'm going to have, because I'm already having such a wonderful time. Like, I'm having the time of my life teaching my money magnet courses. And I have a new course that's going to come up that I will share about a little bit later for December as a way to end the year. But if I had set a specific goal about specific income that I wanted to make by the end of the year, I would probably be stressed out. And that stress, number one, it's not good for your body. It's not good for your health. But I think it also prevents the magic from being able to flow into your life. So I have a story for you I think that you'll appreciate. So sometimes we think that things need to happen a specific way, and we have predictions, right? We all have predictions about the way things are going to happen and the way things are going to work. So the other day, it was the day before that I was supposed to teach my course, and I was having just really bad left hip pain. And at the same time, I had just done some acupuncture, and I think maybe it was overdone. I'm not really sure what the heck happened, but I started experiencing some chills and fever. And on top of that, my hip hurt. So I have my little Healy device. And if you don't know what a Healy device is, it's this little device that reads, I think this is how it works. So I'm not an expert. I'm not selling it. But it reads whatever frequency you're at, and it tells you what you need. So I ran the Healy on me, and it said that I was in need of receiving, and that I was in need of receiving motherly love. And so I made up this story in my mind, because this is what humans do. And I imagined, oh my gosh, I guess I'm not going to be able to teach my course tomorrow because I have a fever. And it was only 100.1 fever, but I didn't know how things were going to play out. And so I said, okay, I see. My prediction is that I'm going to have to cancel my class. And the women in the course, they're so wonderful. They're so loving that they're just going to mother me. And so that didn't happen. It was 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock at night. I was in deep pain and I started crying, and I'm in my bed crying, and I don't want to wake up my husband, who is a functional medicine practitioner and he'll find a solution for me. I mean, that's just the person and the man and the human that he is. But I didn't want to wake him up. And I just thought, I'm having this hip pain. I'm just going to ride it out. And so I was just riding it out and I was crying like a freaking baby, but quietly in the bed. My tears wake my husband up and he was so upset. Not that I woke him up, but he's like, why didn't you wake me up? Like, why don't you ask me for help? And I was like, I didn't want to wake you up. And he gave me some like a lidocaine cream or something like that. And I think he gave me some magic supplement. I think it was just Advil. I don't know what, you guys, but within 10 minutes, I had stopped crying. I mean, I was in such pain. I was able to teach my course. And what is the point of all this? The point is that the people that I thought were going to give me the motherly love, which was the women in my course, that's not the way that it played out. It wound up being my husband who gave me the care. And of course, he's a man, but we're talking about energies here. We're not talking about like masculine sex or feminine sex. He gave me that motherly love. And I've mentioned it before that being a mother and mothering, taking care, so even me taking care of my pets, for example, of our pets, is masculine energy because you are giving and they are receiving. So in this case, it was my husband who was giving me the care and I had to really receive. And so I could not have predicted the magic that happened that night. And it didn't feel like magic in the moment, but when my pain disappeared and when he was so loving, which he always is, I mean, he's such a giver. When my pain disappeared, I was like, oh my God, it was so terrible. But I was so certain that things were going to happen this way and that the women in my class were going to give me the motherly love that I needed. And it was going to be such a great story for me to tell. But life had other plans. And it was even a more beautiful plan. And so when we set a goal that has to do with manifesting something big and wonderful or just something wonderful in our lives, and we set a timeline, I find that it's very limiting. So I'm not saying, just to go back to number one of setting a goal and how that has to, or declaring something and that having to do with manifestation, I'm not against goal setting. I'm not against goal setting. Of course, especially in business, some things need to get done. If you have to hit a quarterly goal, but manifesting has more to do with a little bit of magic and less efforting and things appearing into your life and the vibration that we emit, that we exist in, really, all of that really, really matters for the manifestation to happen. And so while I do have goals, the reality is that I have more intentions than goals. And I am no longer gripping my timeline. So yes, I have structures, for example, in my business. Here I am recording a podcast. I show up every week to my money magnet course. I just did the master class. I have things lined up. So that is masculine energy, that structure. And I have ideas of how I want things to play out. Eventually, I have the intention for this to be a multi-million-dollar business, but I don't have charts. I don't have like, this needs to happen and I have to do this course by like November this, and I have to hit this amount of income by December, because I don't want that stress. I don't want that stress. I want to allow the magic to happen. And that's how I feel manifesting magic happens. Now, if you're totally resistant to what I'm saying and you're saying, heck no, I need to hold on to my goals, because I also found out from a little research that my podcast team did, is that I attract, this is probably you, analytical thinkers with a little bit of a spiritual side. And I think that's me. I'm not a full-on woo-woo spirit, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm not a full-on spiritual person and, with all the crystals and the chanting and all that stuff. I like that stuff, to be honest, but I'm also very grounded, very logical with a spiritual side. So if you are that analytical person that is super goal oriented, I just want to encourage you to think about and feel about. So think about the things that you want to manifest into your life. If what you want to manifest into your life, for example, is more money, universe, bring me $40,000 by the end of the quarter. I want to invite you to just loosen the grip a little bit and get into the energy of allowing. The better you become a receiver of anything, really, like a receiver of the good things, a receiver of someone's kindness, a receiver of this beautiful sunny day, a receiver of your cat or your dog's smile, that prepares you to receive more abundance in your life. So I know this sounds kind of crazy, right? I'm talking about, okay, enjoy your cup of tea and enjoy your dog's or your cat's smile or your spouse or your children, whatever, and you're going to become a better receiver. But yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So that if you're unable to let go of these intense goals, I think this would be a good step. And then just loosen the grip on your timeline, because that's just too much stress for your little soul and for mine as well. Finally, the third thing that I hear in mainstream social media and mainstream manifesting experts is that you have to be high vibe only. Hashtag high vibes only. And guess what? We're human. I can feel great one moment, then I get a phone call or something happens, or I don't know, my sugar level drops, and then my smile will wipe off my face. I mean, that has happened. And I've shared with you throughout many podcasts that I was having health challenges, and I was still able to manifest beautiful things into my life, even with the health challenges. How is that? Because most people tend to focus on whatever's happening that is not working, whatever that is happening that is going wrong, or they're just in a crappy mood, and they're unable to see what is happening that is right. And then the bad feelings or the negative feelings just perpetuate themselves. I'll give you an example. Something happened the other day where I don't remember, to be honest, what triggered it, but I felt very, very foggy. And I was like, oh, bad timing. I don't have time for this. But I mean, really, who has time to feel foggy? Who has time to feel vertigo? Who has time to not feel well, or, for things to happen? Life just happens and we have to deal with it. So I follow my own tools. I follow my own advice. I don't just come on my podcast or on social media to preach. I truly, truly live what I talk about. And so I said, okay, I'm feeling foggy and just a little bit nauseous. I'm going to go on a walk. The fresh air is going to be wonderful for me. And so I went on a walk, and the sky was really blue and the sun was just delicious. And guess what? I felt like I couldn't feel it, because it felt like I had like a black mesh screen through my eyes. I mean, it sounds very dramatic, but honestly, that's what it felt like. And I was like, okay, I see that the sky's blue. I see that the sun's yellow. It's shining. The wind is in my hair. And I'm having trouble enjoying this moment because I'm literally struggling. And I said, what can you do to try to see the good in this moment? Because it's not all bad. And I look down, it makes me emotional. And I see my dog, Corey, who's right here. And I just see through this mesh screen that my eyes felt like, I see his waggly tail. And he was so happy. He was so happy to be in this day of sunshine and wind. And my voice was cracking because it really opened up the screen. It took that black mesh screen away, and it allowed me to hang on to something that was wonderful. And then I was like, it was just such a good moment, because that allowed me to compound more good moments. And it didn't last long. I mean, I don't know if I felt that way all day long. I don't even remember. The only thing I remember about that day is the lesson and Corey's little wagging tail. So it's not about feeling great all the time in order to manifest. It's about allowing yourself to be human. You can be happy, you can be sad. You can have anger one moment and then you can feel joy at the same time. Like you can be a joyful person, but you can be angry in one moment. So it's really not about that. It's about holding on to the good moments, looking for what is good and keeping perspective even when things are not feeling good, because whatever it is that you're going through is not going to last forever. Let's say you're going through a hard season in your life. It's not going to last forever. So find ways to find the good in life, even during tough seasons, whether that season is lasting a few hours or a few days or a few months or a few years. Because if you don't do that, if you really focus on the negative and what's not working, then let me tell you, you're going to manifest a lot more of that. You're going to manifest tragedy. You're going to manifest more bad feelings. You're going to manifest, someone wrote to me and they're like, I just keep attracting just more and more bad things. And I knew what was up. And I said, this is it. I mean, you're probably focusing on all that is wrong and it just spirals. It's like a giant ball of yarn that starts going downhill, but you can't manifest wonderful things like that. So even if you're going through tough times, Abraham Hicks always says, reach for a better feeling thought. And I don't know how else to put it. It's so perfectly worded. We do. We look for a better feeling thought, but I would add that we look for not a better feeling experience. We look for something in that moment that is good. And in my case, it was my little dog's waggly tail. And like I said, I really don't remember what happened the rest of the day. I don't remember how long that lasted. That I only have the good memory of not feeling well and then seeing my dog's tail and being like, okay. So those were the 3 manifesting basics. I mean, this stuff is basics that most experts won't tell you. They're telling you a different narrative. They're telling you a different story. And I believe that that's stopping folks from really enjoying and manifesting the life that they deserve, that you deserve. So that's all for today. So what is your homework? Your homework is right now. So it's your assignment is to go to my podcast. I mean, I know you're there now, but you're going to have to go to the main page. Scroll down, you're going to see write a review. Go ahead and write a review, screenshot it, post it on your Instagram or your Facebook stories. Tag me, Barbie.Kalev, and I will enter your name to win a hot seat coaching call with me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.
If you loved this episode and if you're loving my podcast, I would love for you to leave a review. They really do make a difference in spreading the word and having more people be impacted. Also, I'd love for you to join me in my Facebook community called The Magnetic Portal. You can find the link in the show notes. I'll see you next time.